The story of Margaret Garner, a Miltonic chronicle in 3 parts. Part I. The bondage sing heavenly. Muse of Margaret, born not free but bound, delivered unto this world on the 4th day of June in the year of our Lord 1834, upon the plantation called Maplewood in Boone County's Kentucky soil, where she was deemed property of one John Pollard Gaines. From childhood's tender years, Margaret labored as domestic slave within the master's house, tending to the offspring of those who claimed dominion over her very breath. Upon her brow and left countenance there dwelt a scar testament to violence endured. Witness to cruelty's mark, a white man struck me, she would declare in years to come, her voice bearing witness to wounds both visible and hidden deep. In the year 1849, when scarce 15 summers had passed over her captive life, Margaret was sold as cattle are sold, as grain is traded unto Archibald K. Gaines, brother to her former master. In that same year of sorrows, she was joined in marriage to Robert Garner, himself enslaved upon a neighboring farm belonging to James Marshall. Between the years 1849 and 56, Margaret brought forth 4 children into this world of chains. Thomas, aged 6 years, Samuel 4, Mary, 2 years and 6 months, and Priscilla, an infant of mere months. 3 of these innocents were described as mulatto children. The bitter truth which history whispers with shame suggests they were begotten by Archibald Gaines himself, for each child was born 5 to 7 months after Gaines's own wife bore him offspring. Margaret suffered not merely enslavement's yoke but systematic violation of her very person by the man who claimed to own her soul. At times, Margaret accompanied her masters on their shopping expeditions to Cincinnati, Ohio, that blessed free territory where the sun of liberty shone upon all who dwelt therein. In those moments, her eyes beheld what freedom meant. This dream took root within her heart like flame that no earthly power could extinguish. By the mid-1850s, the Underground Railroad flourished mightily in Cincinnati, bearing scores of the enslaved toward freedom's promised land in Canada. Margaret and Robert, with courage born of desperation, resolved upon the most perilous choice of their mortal lives, to flee bondage's realm. Part 2. The flight and the tragedy upon the night of January's 27th day. In the year 1856, when winter, as coldest embrace in 60 years, had frozen the Ohio River into pathways of ice, Margaret beheld the providence she had awaited. On that gelid night, Margaret bearing yet another child within her womb, and Robert did steal away their master's horses, a sleigh, and a weapon. Together with their 4 small children and Robert's parents, Simon and Mary, they departed into darkness's shroud. 17 souls fled bondage that fateful night. Through snow and bitter cold they traveled 16 kilometers at desperate speed, until they reached the Ohio River below Covington, Kentucky. The river stood completely frozen, a rare miracle that permitted them to cross on foot toward Cincinnati's liberating shore. As dawn broke upon the 28th of January, 1856, they achieved Ohio's bank. Free soil. Margaret's feet touched earth where slavery held no dominion. 9 of the fugitives proceeded to safe houses in Cincinnati and would eventually reach Canada through the Underground Railroad's secret passages. The Garners sought refuge in the dwelling of Joseph Kite, Margaret's uncle, who lived as a free man near Mill Creek. After breaking their fast hastily, Elijah Kite, Joseph's son, hastened unto the store of Levi Coffin, known far and wide as the president of the Underground Railroad, to seek counsel. Coffin instructed that the Garners be removed immediately to the city's western quarter, where many free blacks dwelt in safety, and that they await nightfall's protective veil. But Providence, or fate, or some darker power ordained otherwise. Someone betrayed them, perhaps a neighbor's envious eye, perhaps one who witnessed the crossing. Before Elijah could return, Archibald Gaines, James Marshall, slave catchers, and federal officers of the United States surrounded the dwelling. Margaret heard the voices harsh, commanding, the footsteps heavy with authority, the weapons being loaded instruments of recapture. Through her children's eyes she saw the terror she knew too intimately. The door burst asunder. Robert discharged several shots, wounding at least 1 officer, but they were outnumbered, overwhelmed. The house stood encircled. Margaret gazed upon Mary, her daughter of 2 years and 6 months, that child she called her little bird. She beheld her other children, and made the choice no mother should ever face, a choice between horrors, between slavery's living death and mercy's dark deliverance. She seized a butcher's knife. Better to see her daughter dead than watch her grow as she herself had grown, as property, as violated flesh, as broken spirit. With an act that sundered heart and history alike, Margaret cut the throat of Mary. She attempted to slay her other children. She sought to end her own tormented life, but the men subdued her before she could accomplish her terrible mercy. When the officers seized her, she stood in shock's paralysis, gazing into emptiness. Yet when someone praised her eldest son, she responded with sorrow's terrible weight, "You should have seen my little one that died." That was the bird. Part 3. The judgment and the legacy. On the 30th day of January, 1856, commenced the trial of the Garners, destined to become the longest fugitive slave case in American history. 2 weeks of hearings, followed by 2 additional weeks of deliberation. John Joliffe, that champion of abolition's cause, presented an argument revolutionary in its audacity. Margaret should be tried for murder in Ohio, not returned as chattel. Had she not traveled previously to free territory with her masters? Did this not render her free? And if she were tried for murder, Ohio's abolitionist governor could grant her pardon and liberty. But the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, that legislation of infamy, was clear and merciless. Slaves were property that must be returned unto their owners. On the 26th day of February, 1856, Commissioner John L. Pendry issued his judgment. The Garners were fugitives according to federal law and must return to Archibald Gaines's custody. Ohio's authorities obtained a warrant to try Margaret for murder, but Gaines moved with serpentine swiftness. He transported Margaret between several Kentucky towns, Covington, Frankfort, Louisville, always one step ahead of justice's reach. Finally, he placed the Garners aboard a steamboat bound for his brother Benjamin's plantation in Arkansas. On the 6th day of March, 1856, upon the river's treacherous waters, the steamer Henry Lewis collided with another vessel and began to sink. According to witnesses' testimony, Margaret either was cast into the river during the collision, or leaped deliberately, bearing her infant daughter Priscilla in her arms. The child perished in the drowning waters. Some testified that Margaret cried out, "Now she too is free." Margaret and Robert arrived in Arkansas but remained only some months. They were sold as domestic servants to a family in New Orleans. In the year 1858, Margaret Garner died of typhoid fever in New Orleans. She had lived but 24 years upon this earth. Her burial place remains unknown to this day, yet her story did not perish with her mortal frame. Margaret taught us that slavery's cruelest evil was not the whip slash, the chains, weight, or forced labor's burden, but the impossible choices it imposed upon a mother's soul. Her courage has inspired generations. Toni Morrison's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, beloved operas, theatrical works, murals, and films. Her memory burns like a star, eternal testimony that no earthly power can claim a soul set aflame by freedom's sacred fire. Her name was Margaret. Not property, not a number in some ledger's column, but a woman who dared to dream and paid freedom's highest price for dignity. Remember her, honor her memory. Speak her name into the light where truth and justice dwell, for she who defied the pit has earned her place among the martyrs of our long and bloodstained march toward liberty as promised sure. Subscribe to Freedom Stories America.